Hello, everyone. We are so excited to do this.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to AIM Leadership's, what has typically been our Lunch and Learn series on Thursday afternoons. And we are trying something new. We are trying the live version of our Lunch and Learns. We hope that it has the same framework of sharing some new ideas and introducing some new concepts, creating a lively discussion, and also being a snippet that you can come join. 30 minutes, high value, high impact, get you thinking, and then pop back into your day. So I'm Camille Preston, CEO and founder of AIM Leadership, a business psychologist, and I'm thrilled to be here with my colleague Candace, who has been just an incredible right hand in this journey of reinventing where we're going. And she's actually going to take the bull by the horns and lead us in this conversation today as a veteran live producer.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and it's been an honor and a privilege to get to walk alongside Camille as, Living Real has really come to life. On Monday, we're going to celebrate the official launch of the book, Living Real, that Camille has been working really diligently and hard to really pour into and have that added depth so that the readers can really take away the journey and be able to see those transitions. Again, it's an honor to have this conversation today, and seeing it come together has been quite the journey, don't you think, Camille?
It's been a roller coaster. And so Living Real, for those just joining, is a book that we are launching. It's our third book, but it's really been just an act of massive surrender and something we're excited to bring to life. Yes, bring us forward. I actually have the original proof here, just because it's still close by.
Well, and it's really come together so beautifully and so messy at the same time, right? Like everything in life. And let's just dive in. So can you really just tell everybody where this journey began and why Living Real, why now?
Oh, such a good question. There are so many ways to answer that. And you could answer it one way, which is just like, we are at a time societally, there's a pivot point. We're seeing spiking mental health. We're seeing spiking anxiety, depression, loneliness, and we're seeing this fracturing and polarization in our society. So you could say it was driven by what's happening in our communities. You could also say this came out of my own journey, my own story. I went through, so life happens, as I'm sure it has happened for everybody on this call. I had 5 deaths in 5 months. And the first one was just the most, was profound. It was my closest family member who was beloved, and it really just cracked me open. And then there was several other deaths that happened after that really got me thinking that, wow, grief is all around us. Grief has this incredible opportunity to open us. And as I was emerging, I realized no one wanted to talk about it. Many people were like, I get it, your uncle died. I get it, this person died. Okay, move on. But the reality is that grief is all around us, and it's a really vital part of our life. So you could say it came from that kind of this idea of like a season of death. You could say it came from a like palpable need of what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation several times about how we're seeing so much hardship go on in the world, and yet everybody's kind of shy around having that conversation. And I mean, sure, we have our keyboard times, right? But then when it comes down to the actual engagement with one another, we seem to lack that ability to open up. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you're trying to really convey in this book is like, yeah, we can be at the soccer game, like, which is in the book, like, and have a hard conversation where it's not the very surface level understanding of, oh yeah, life is great. And why do you feel that's so important right now?
Oh, I think we are all craving to be seen. We are craving to see ourselves. And I think we're struggling in so many levels on that. One of the key concepts that was kind of launched me into this, let me go back for a second to say, I didn't intend to write another book. This is our third book. And I had kind of this mantra of like 2 kids, 2 books, I'm done, move on. And this book really just kind of came through me. It actually woke me up one Sunday morning about 4 a.m. It was like, here's the book, here's what you need to write. And so I really think it's less Camille. It's more what the world needs right now. It's more what people are craving. And I think what we've come through with kind of the like push of technology, the pandemic, which has caused thinning of relationships, moving into more global, more digital, more virtual work, there's just been this thinning where we don't have the depth of relationship. We don't have the depth of connection that maybe we once had. And as a result, we're starting to shallow our relationships. We're starting to kind of speak more surface. And when I speak more surface, then you respond and you speak more surface. So I speak more surface, and it gets, and so it goes.
And you get 10 cocktails deep because you're like just so bored. You're
like, not wrong.
Well, and in the book, you really write about those hard things, and how as a culture we're just really taught to avoid those hard emotions. And can you dive in a little bit further into what you define as the sine wave of life, and how in those avoidance moments we're really not experiencing our full life?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So I would say I've had a very blessed life. And when I was with this beloved uncle, first in the hospital and airlifting and hospice, I found myself going back to the kind of the deaths that I did know. And I was reminded of a phone call from my father. I was very, very close with both my father, but also his mother. And I had just returned from Africa. I was just starting my doctorate down at UVA. I didn't really know anyone back in the time when we had landlines. And I remember when my dad called me to tell me that my grandmother had died. And it wasn't surprising necessarily, but it was my first like deep loss of someone who had been like pivotal and instrumental in my life. And I remember I cried and cried and cried, and my dad was so present to me. And then a couple minutes in, he said, I want you to really feel how much this hurts. And I started crying more, and I was like, this isn't fun. This isn't helpful. He's like, no, but can you feel it? Can you feel how your heart is like aching and the pining? And he's like, I want you to think about the things you did. I called her Nanny. And the things you did with Nanny, like, what was it that made you love her so much? And again, like the tears sobbed. And he said, sweetheart, feeling the depth of this pain is the best tribute to the height of your love. He said, a great life is feeling the heartache and feeling the highs. And that became this like interesting barometer for thinking about life. Like, I want to be in relationships that I'm seeing the full spectrum of people. I want to see who you are, what matters, how you engage, what is it that makes you real, who you are. So that was kind of what pulled me in. It was only when and I'd written a little bit about this. I'd used that metaphor with clients over the years, because it was literally almost 30 years ago. And that's crazy. But I had written about it, but it was only when I went through it myself that I started to kind of revisit this. But then I started seeing people around me, and I started seeing how many people are navigating hard things. Death is an easy thing to say is a hard thing, but people are going through divorce. They've had health diagnoses. They've lost jobs. They've seen their families really change in profound ways. Their communities change. And I started to see that the highs and lows are all around us, but we've atrophied our ability to feel.
Yeah. Well, and you describe it so well, because you're like, we really live in this middle space where we're not really dealing with this, and we're not really experiencing this. And, when you're thinking about that, why do you think it's so important for people to experience those lows and the highs, and not try to only, because I know people we just like to feel good. And so whenever we feel bad, like, how can we as a society even like come to understand how to navigate those lows without feeling like we're going into like full-blown therapy session, or explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So one of the concepts that we roll out early in the book is this idea of thinking of yourself as a house. And what we're kind of taught in life is to put hard things in a bag, in a box, and put it in the basement. Stuff things down in the basement, like out of sight, out of mind. No one really wants to hear about this, sweetheart. Can't you just pull your bootstraps up? When are you going to be ready to go back to work? Come on. We've talked about this before. Aren't you done with it yet? Kind of all those emotions. And so we put all this stuff in the basement of our metaphoric house. But what we don't realize is by refusing to be with and feel and engage the hard stuff, we actually are putting the same kind of blocks in the second floor of our house, which is where joy and happiness and fulfillment exists. And so for folks who are listening, you might be able to see in those around you people who are, I call it sensation seeking. Like they're skydiving, they're taking great adventures, they're buying new houses, faster cars. They're trying to feel alive. They're trying to feel that kind of vibrancy of the second floor of their house. But because the basement is so full, they're actually just existing on that first floor. And that's, there's a time and a place for it. Like it is absolutely appropriate at different points in time to put things in the basement. And it's when we start to unpack that basement that we open up to our fuller sense of self. I just want to do a quick link. There was a shadow workbook that came out it was at the end of the pandemic, and people got really excited about shadow work. And this is like, oh, this is great. And shadow work is really, really hard. And it's that process of unpacking the basement and starting to see parts of yourself that are uncomfortable, like the grief, like the loss, like the sadness.
Well, and I think what you're also encouraging in some of the things that we're developing are having these real conversations, like being able to say, I'm not 100% okay. In saying that, the next person's like, you know what, I'm kind of struggling with this too. And you have an example of that in the book where, you're with this other parent and they're going through something else, and you're able to really bridge that missing link of I have to pretend like I'm 100% okay all the time, which kind of leads me into my next question, which is, why do you think high performers really struggle with this? Like, be vulnerable.
That's a great question. It's a more complicated question that it's kind of like a bowl of spaghetti. So let me pull down the layers. We are often rewarded and reinforced for putting on a smiley, pretty picture and being like, gung-ho, team player, ready to do anything. And so that has been at play for many, many years, put on the smiley face. We are experiencing a compounding of that because we have social media and we see so many people putting out their highlight reels. Like, this was great. This was great. Oh my gosh, look, I'm on another family vacation. Did you see me do this keynote? We're putting out these highlight reels, which is presenting this rosy face, which then makes other people who are consuming it being like, oh goodness, what's my life? Where am I navigating? And then we've seen this trend on top of that, which is I'm going to put out a messy moment, but it's a carefully curated messy moment. We're starting to see this. And so for high performers, one thing is they're used to winning and they're determined and they have skills and they're good at winning. They've been taught unconsciously or not that success is important. This is what success looks like. So they've bought into all these illusions and they've perhaps atrophied their capacity to be vulnerable, to create real, genuine connections, to really engage in a way that is what leads to that joy.
Right. Well, and I mean, you kind of got a taste of your own medicine in writing this book. So, I really want you to talk to, the whole process of writing this book. In what ways did it help open you up to even living even more real? Because you're pretty transparent as is. That's one of the things that we all value about you, is you're going to say it like it is. But in those moments, how do you think it stretched you to feel more real or to show up more authentic?
Oh, such a good question. So which moment of which day do you want me to talk about? I mean, there is something profound about putting a book out into the world. It's kind of putting your tail on the line, and it's opening yourself up to be criticized. I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, but she didn't do that here, and she didn't do that here. And it's going to be very easy to point fingers. And one of my dear friends and mentors always say, when you point a finger, you got to look, there's one finger out and 3 fingers back. So looking in the mirror is again, that shadow work. So the whole process has been profound, kind of head to the ground, humbling. But I think just the last month has been almost bordering on comical. And again, I'm so blessed to have you on the team and partnering in this and like passionate about this work. Because so for people, the last month, I am a really good person at getting a lot of stuff done, but I am a solid B-. Like details are not my friend. I make it bad, make it better. In the last 6 weeks, I have proofread and like copy edited, and it's been painful. And then I had to go read it out loud for the Audible, which is also hard to read your work and like still sound happy while you're reading it or still sound grounded. So that was incredibly challenging. And then the actual launch is both so exciting because it's something we've been working so hard for, and it's so terrifying to put the work out there. But then all these pieces that need to happen, and like it's just out of our control. Like I can't see things, I can't predict things, I don't know when things are going to come up. I mean, it's all these pieces that have just profound vulnerability, profound surrender, can feel really chaotic and uncertain. And all you can do is take one step forward and then the next step forward, and then the next step forward. There's a lot of uncertainty in it. And you have been so gracious in saying, gosh, isn't it fabulous? You're walking the talk of what you talk about in part 2. And I said, yes, and it's so uncomfortable. Yeah. And we're walking the talk.
Well, and it's like, even throughout the experience, though, you've caught yourself having, pretty in-depth conversations with people that are very close to you. And it's opened that doorway for you to, I think what it's really helping people to understand is how you can be open, honest, and hold space and see the other person at the same time. So, because in the world, so often we see this, like, it's like one side or the other kind of energy versus being able to just come to the table and say, hey, this is what's going on, and I'm just going to allow that space for them to respond. And it just creates a different dynamic where you're not coming from that wounded space of like, I need to say this to say this. It's more of like, hey, I'm sharing this. Let's have a conversation. Yeah.
And you're speaking to something that's powerful, which is about letting the ego, like noticing the ego, which is that high performer side, noticing it, recognizing it. It's important. We're not letting go of it. And the ego isn't the part that's going to be in relationship. The ego is not the part that's going to connect. And it's interesting because I think that's part of this whole process is craving connection, but having to let go of how you did know it, why you did, how you engaged with it, right? Like the ego is safe and familiar. It's comfortable. We're rewarded for it professionally. And what we really want is on the other side of the river. And you have to stand in that.
Oh my gosh. There's like a lot that we can dive into. And the cool thing is that this is kind of a taste of what we're going to do on Monday. So really invite everyone to come out and learn even more about living real and being able to just, again, the goal is to help create better communities but just better conversations all around. But the last question that I have for you, Camille, is like, out of all of this, and I mean, I know this is kind of hard to narrow it down, but what's your one big hope that you hope the reader takes home with them? So.
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I hope you fall in love with yourself again, reading the book, because we are all magnificent. We are all, I think, doing incredible things. And I really see the book as an invitation. It's an invitation to start to find stillness, to find presence with yourself, to start to listen inward. And it's an opportunity to kind of shed all the shoulds and come back to who are you. And you might not change anything out in the outer world, but if you have that opportunity to live more real with yourself, kind of on the inside, I think the world will be a better place if people are listening inward and finding that. And I think if people, at the end of the day, I think people will feel happier in that space.
Yeah,
can I
you're
add
fine.
two things now? I'm
No,
the
this
second
is
thing
Camille, right? We are talking to Camille, so we know that.
I do also hope it becomes an invitation for different conversations. So, a gift that you give to someone and say, hey, I want to be more real with you, or I really value you. I want to have this deeper connection. So I hope it starts to build communities and forge connections and open doors and really bring
Yeah.
people together. So I'm curious, what would you say is your biggest hope in
I would
bringing the
have to
book
just
forward?
piggyback on the last part is that, we're seeing the world experience just an unprecedented amount of change and hardship and battle. And it feels like everybody's stuck in their own isolation. And so how can we bridge that connection again to really, again, go back to that more simplistic, traditional conversation, even though we're shifting it, right? We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards, but having more supportive communication. And I think it brings in all of those elements that we've been talking about empathy and, EQ and all of these things. But it's like a really deep level of, coming together as a unified whole, even if we have vastly different, thinking patterns or belief systems. And so, because when we do that, then we can create the change in the world that we wish to see. So.
Absolutely. I love that. The idea that tension creates consciousness. How do we hold that tension first in ourselves and then in community to come together? For listeners that are new to us, Candace is in Southern California and I'm in Boston. So we are opposite sides of the country, and have very different backgrounds, but very shared passions. So may that be a prayer out to the universe of where we go and what the future
Yeah, absolutely.
holds.
And just a reminder, we're going to come together. Every month we come together to do these lunch and learns. And again, it's normally a little bit different, and we are going to shift them going forward to give them a little bit more interaction and activity, and really, again, creating more community. But we do hope that you will join us on Monday, where we're going to go live and dive in even further into the book. And again, just give you that opportunity to ask us questions about, if you're seeing this and you're kind of seeing yourself in it, but you're not really sure where to start. We have a whole bunch of activities that are going to help you through that journey.
And for people who are saying, this is great, this is really interesting, you can find that LinkedIn on LinkedIn Live, or you can email us at info@aim leadership. And please buy the book. It's on Amazon. There's Kindle ebooks and Audible, because this is really about starting a new set of conversations, building a new way of engaging from the inside.
Absolutely. And I will say that even though, yes, I've been working on the project, I did buy the Audible and I love it. It really brings the story together. So I encourage that, but that's just my preference. But so, all right. Well, thanks, Camille, for allowing me to come in and take over and do the thing.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you all for joining us. We look forward to continuing the conversation. We're excited to hear what resonates for you, and